Hello guys, and welcome to this week's video. In today's video, we are going to count down 10 tips to help you to become a better competitive player. Without further ado, let's do number 1. Know your deck, each card and their purpose, how to play them, how to maneuver them, what cards to save, what cards to play at certain times. Knowing your deck inside and out will help you the best. So don't change it right before an event. Changing your deck the day before an event is likely going to cause you to make a misplay, because in the heat of a moment you could potentially think a different card is in your deck, and that's just not a good idea. Also, during gameplay, knowing your deck is very important, so check your prizes as soon as possible, and be aware what is in the discard as well, so you know what resources you have available for you left in your deck. Deck checking late game with burnable cards is a good idea, especially if you're making sure a certain out is still available to you. Number 2. Metagame knowledge. Know popular archetypes, know popular decks, know what popular decks usually run tech-wise as well. There's the bigger tournament events, and then there's your little locals. If you want to win at locals, what do people really show up with? Is there a control player, or do they all plus play Champel or Water or something? And how can you tech for those types of matchup as well? Some players really do just play one deck, and if you don't like that deck, and it's your locals, you can tech for that matches specifically, but if you go to a regionals, it's a lot less likely that that tech will pan out. And the more games you play, the more metagame knowledge you get. The cheat code to getting more metagame knowledge is to watch popular YouTubers also play games in the format you are wanting to play in. So for standard, Pokemon has live streams of regional events and higher. For GLC, there are plenty of high-level players that have GLC content, and there's a plenty of small channels as well that play the card game, so you can look around to see what people are cooking up and figure out what cards and decks are popular. Number 3, don't play your deck right before the tournament. Information is key in this game of Pokemon. If you're playing a really hype secret deck right before a tournament and someone's like, oh, I don't like that deck, this is how I play against it, and you show them that right before a tournament starts, you have just opened your box of surprises for free. Save your information for when you're playing in tournament. If you like to de-stress before an event by playing a game, bring a second deck you aren't planning to play in the tournament to play beforehand. But stick to your guns and stay on the same deck for the tournament. Don't switch to the other deck you brought. Number 4. Stay organized during gameplay. The more you stay organized, the less your brain has to think. So, tap cards, tilt them to a side to denote they're done, or bring coins or markers to denote what abilities have been used, or cards on the field like stadiums. Sort your hand, sort your discard pile, sort your deck during deck checks to make sure all your Pokemon are there at the beginning of the game. The more you sort, it might take a little more time, but the less your brain has to think, the less likely you are to mess up. Number 5. Watch your opponent during their turn. Put your hand down, sit down, watch your opponent, see what cards they're playing, what choices they are making, and be aware of the resources they are using. The more you're watching an opponent, the better you are, because you can start to pick up on their habits. You can catch them if they're trying to cheat. And if you watch your opponent and what they're doing, you can know what they need to do to win the game. Which ties into number 6, figure out both players' win cons. What do the players need to do to win the game? And how many paths do you see to victory? Sometimes there's only one, but if there are multiple routes to victory, don't get blinded by one. See as many outs as possible and try to get at least one. And the same thing can be said for your opponent. And when you see the win con for your opponent, it is your job to thwart your opponent as much as possible to guarantee you the win con. And part of this figuring out player win cons is keep on playing. Don't just give up early, because sometimes your opponent win con does not show up and you get a victory. So don't give up unless there is literally one prize left. Keep on fighting until the end. And the longer you stay in matches and fight for that victory, the better player you'll become as well, because you'll start to see those routes more frequently. Number 7, learn to manage your resources. There are burnable cards in your deck. These are usually items. Half the time, turn 1, if you are going first, you don't play the Pokegear because next turn you'll draw for turn and then you can play the Pokegear and get one more search. It's figuring that little dance out. Of course, you're not going to get it right every single time. The more you play around with this concept of managing your deck resources, the better you'll become as a player. Also, time is a resource as well. Sometimes games will start getting towards time, and I'm not telling you to slow play, but occasionally you can force situations where you can tie up. So if it's a best 2 out of 3, you can learn more about your opponent's deck and quickly get the victory in the next 2 games. I wouldn't advise playing just for ties, but time is a resource, and if you're playing a slower, trickier deck, sometimes you need to do practice times with 40-minute timers so you can get faster at your playing as well. Learn to manage your resources, guys. Number 8, join or build a competitive network. Building a network is as easy as asking someone after the game, "Hey, what do you think about my deck? What changes do you want to do?" Or showing up to locals regularly so you can get acquainted with the people who play games regularly. It's also as easy as finding Discord for like-minded players or people who play similar formats as you. For example, if you're a fan of the GLC format, you can join Tricky Gym or Cardboard Warriors, where you'll find plenty of people who will be talking about GLC, which they also have standard there too. So finding networks, building your own competitive network. Having a network is great because having a network means you get different opinions and different insights, and that's just really good because not everyone's brains works the same, and sometimes you just need a brain that thinks differently and isn't your own. Number 9, record your matches for analysis. Even if it's as simple as a phone stand, recording your gameplay for analysis, not everyone can do, but if you can, do it. Watching your gameplay back or even sending it to a close group could give you insights on ways you can improve your gameplay or paths you didn't see before. And number 10 is have fun. This is a fun game for kids and older, but the reason we play Pokemon isn't just to win, but to have fun and because we enjoy the card game. Always keep the root of your gameplay fun. If you really like silly decks that are off meta, play silly decks that are off meta. Play the decks you love to play because that's why we play the game, right? Don't just become a soulless machine trudging along trying to get victory, because if you do that, you're not gonna love the game anymore and it's gonna become a chore. So just sit back, relax, enjoy it, take a break for a bit, but at the root of all things, have fun. And those were 10 tips for you to become a better competitive player for the Pokemon TCG. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I regularly make GLC content that's called Gym Leader Challenge here. If you wanted to check out some of those videos, here is a playlist for those, and if you want to learn how to build your deck to be a little better, here is that video there. Anyways, I'll see you guys all in next week's video. Bye!